And hello, everyone. My name is Crystal Myers-Barber, and today is June the 27th, 2025. I want to remind everyone that I'm going to be interviewing someone that is running for sheriff, and we're going to be live tomorrow at 2 o'clock, around 2 o'clock my California time. So please make sure to see this interview. It's going to be incredible. And it's just one of the many interviews that I'm going to be having. I'm going to start getting a lot of people on my channel that are running for office. And so today we're going to talk about the Supreme Court justice decision that just happened with Trump. I'm going to show a few minutes of that. I'm going to come back and talk about it because this is so amazing. One of the judges, Amy Coney Barrett, actually wrote an opinion, and she was part of the justices that sided with Trump. It's causing a lot of rift. But we're going to see this part with Pam Bondi speaking first.
Okay, we want to take you back to the White House right now. President Donald Trump was on the podium just a few moments ago speaking about a huge court ruling from the Supreme Court. Right now we're seeing Attorney General Pam Bondi speaking, so let's listen in.
No longer will we have rogue judges striking down President Trump's policies across the entire nation. No longer. Today, in the 6-3 opinion, Justice Barrett correctly holds that the district court lacks authority to enter nationwide or universal injunctions. These lawless injunctions gave relief to everyone in the world instead of the parties before the court. As the Supreme Court held today, they turned district courts into the imperial judiciary. Active liberal judges have used these injunctions to block virtually all of President Trump's policies. To put this in perspective, there are 94 federal judicial districts. 5 of those districts throughout this country held 35 of the nationwide injunctions. Think about that. 94 districts and 35 out of the 40 opinions with nationwide injunctions came from 5 liberal districts in this country. No longer. No longer. These injunctions have blocked our policies from tariffs to military readiness to immigration to foreign affairs, fraud, abuse, and many other issues. The judges have tried to seize the executive branch's power, and they cannot do that. No longer. No longer. And on immigration, on a side note, today marks 2,711 arrests on these terrorists and these gangs. Total arrest today with HSI investigations. And thank you, Stephen Miller. Thank you to Homeland Security. Thank you to everyone working hand in hand with the FBI on all of these transnational gangs. TDA has been a huge terror to our country, as well as MS-13, as well as Sinaloa cartels. No longer. No longer. These injunctions have allowed district court judges to be emperors. They vetoed all of President Trump's power, and they cannot do that. This has been a bipartisan problem that has lasted 5 presidential.
So this, as we are, seeing Pam Bondi explain the complex situation. So basically, there has been a huge ruling today with the Supreme Court, and it's a historic win for really just beyond Trump. It's a win for presidential authority. The U.S. Supreme Court today issued a ruling that strengthens executive power and could clear the path for former President Trump's immigration reforms, including birthright citizenship order, which is why you're seeing this written up everywhere. Basically, in a 6-3 majority, the court ruled that federal judges, we prayed for this. I'm in a prayer group. We pray for the nation every single week, and we have just been disgusted at the pushback every time a judge knocks down President Trump's decision. They can no longer issue these broad nationwide injunctions against President Trump's or executive orders unless the case is a certified class action, it says. So this directly affects how Trump's ruling, which he ruled in January on birthright citizenship, is handled moving forward. So basically earlier this year in January, Trump did sign an executive order denying automatic U.S. citizenship to children born to illegal immigrants and certain non-citizens. So that's been a big, huge situation. Multiple lower courts immediately went over and tried to block President Trump's, this decision nationwide. But with today's ruling, these sweeping blocks can no longer happen. Judges can only protect the plaintiffs involved in the case. And so they were doing a sweeping nationwide decision. Trump's order may now go into effect in states where no lawsuits were filed. And so basically, President Trump is celebrating his ruling on Truth Social, calling it a massive victory for the rule of law, and saying it finally puts back power back in the hands of the people, not these activist judges. And so what people are really surprised about is that the majority opinion was written by Justice Amy Coney Barrett, who I mentioned at the beginning. She emphasized that lower courts were never meant to wield nationwide power over presidential actions. She wrote that universal injunctions exceed the traditional limits of judicial authority. So, of course, she had pushback. Not everyone agreed. We saw the vote. And so Justices Sotomayor, Kagan, and Jackson dissented, warning that these could create confusion across states. So their pushback did not stop this. If no further lawsuits are filed or accepted as class actions, Trump's citizenship order could take effect. It says only in 28 states as late July. So we're looking at this, happening next month. So, and this is very big with immigration policy and putting it back into the hands of state by state. So this is an incredible decision. And now we see Pam Bondi was taking questions. There is another video. Let's see if I can get this out of here. And I'll actually show you what Trump said about this, because I think it's so key. So I want to thank you for tuning in. Make sure to follow me on X under PromoGirl07. And we can find out all this breaking news and break it down. I'll be breaking it down as I see it, as much as I can, ASAP. So we have President Trump.
This morning, the Supreme Court has delivered a monumental victory for the Constitution, the separation of powers, and the rule of law in striking down the excessive use of nationwide injunctions to interfere with the normal functioning of the executive branch. The Supreme Court has stopped the presidency itself. That's what they've done. And really, it's been an amazing period of time this last hour. There are people elated all over the country. I've seen such happiness and spirit. Sometimes you don't see that, but this case is very important. I was elected on a historic mandate, but in recent months, we've seen a handful of radical left judges effectively try to overrule the rightful powers of the president to stop the American people from getting the policies that they voted for in record numbers. It was a grave threat to democracy, frankly, and instead of merely ruling on the immediate cases before them, these judges have attempted to dictate the law for the entire nation. In practice, this meant that if any one of the nearly 700 federal judges disagreed with the policy of a duly elected president of the United States, he or she could block that policy from going into effect, or at least delay it for many years, tie it up in the court system. This was a colossal abuse of power which never occurred in American history prior to recent decades. And we've been hit with more nationwide injunctions than were issued in the entire 20th century together. Think of it, more than the entire 20th century, me. I'm grateful to the Supreme Court for stepping in and solving this very, very big and complex problem, and they've made it very simple. I want to thank Justice Barrett, who wrote the opinion brilliantly, as well as Chief Justice Roberts, and Justices Alito, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Thomas. Great people.
All right, so we see that happening. And then President Trump saying this is a monumental decision on his Truth Social account, just going on. And so everybody's attacking Amy Coney Barrett right now. I saw that happening too, which is a shame. And the next story I want to bring to you was really surprising. I was in my prayer group, and all of a sudden I see evidence of this happening. It literally broke like while we were driving to church. And
now to developing news, the Justice Department has filed a lawsuit against Orange County's top election official.
They claim the county registrar refused to provide records related to the removal of non-citizens from the voter registration rolls. KTLA 5's Orange County Bureau Chief Chip Yost live now in La Palma with the details. Chip?
Yeah, hello there. While the investigation by the Department of Justice involves non-citizen voters, the legal dispute at issue seems to be a conflict between state law and federal law. Wednesday, the United States Department of Justice filed a lawsuit against the Orange County Registrar of Voters, Bob Page. The lawsuit accuses Page of refusing to hand over records related to non-citizens who attempted to register to vote. It could be related to this. Last year, then Huntington Beach City Attorney Michael Gates posted a picture of this ballot on X and said, "The other night while at an event, a gentleman presented this official ballot to me advising it was mailed to his home for his father-in-law, who has lived in the U.S. for approximately 10 years, has never voted before, has never received a ballot before, and is not a U.S. citizen." I reported this to the county registrar, who is reporting to the California Secretary of State. Gates now works for the Department of Justice and is one of the U.S. attorneys who filed the lawsuit against the county.
Wow, didn't things change? So isn't that amazing? So when he reported this, he was an attorney, but then he got hired by the Justice Department. So now look, we know there are illegals voting here in California. And it's such a problem. I remember the election for Michelle Steele, who had the 45th district. They went back and counted for 60 days, maybe 90 days, until her opponent won. His last name was Trans. And let's see, Derek Tran, Tran. They counted until she was defeated. I watched it.
And a very similar case is described in that filing. On June 2nd, the DOJ says it requested more than 5 years of data from Orange County of voter registrations that were canceled due to failure to satisfy citizenship requirements. The lawsuit says the county's response redacted some of the requested information and threatened litigation if the redacted data was not included. But in an email, the county replied that state law restricted the release of some of the data and sought some sort of compromise that would resolve the matter and avoid litigation. But that did not happen. The DOJ filed its lawsuit. We did reach out to the Registrar of Voters, Bob Page, for comment, but we were told because of the pending litigation, he was unable to do so. Reporting here in La Palma, I'm Chip Yost, KTLA.
I wanted to hear like one of the news stations talk about this. Ooh, talking about wiggling. Yeah, everything's coming out in the open and I love it. And I'm trying to report it as it's happening. We've had a huge victory today and things are being uncovered like never before. I'm breaking news probably more on, I would say X is my safest platform. That's why I keep telling people to go over there and follow me. But I am streaming live here to Facebook and YouTube. I want to thank you all for watching this news story. I will be back at 7 p.m. tonight, my time, where I have some more information and some more amazing things that I have to let you know about. One of them being about ICE agents people are dressing up like ICE agents out here, and someone just got caught doing it and they were arrested. So that is going to be what I'm going to be bringing up at 7 p.m. with video and some information on that. The news is having to report all this. This is all coming out, honey. This is Friday. We're looking at Friday and I'll be back at 7. See you then. Thanks for watching.